Welcome to the Inspiring Women of Iowa podcast, a special series amplifying the stories of the Inspiring Women of Iowa finalist. Inspiring Women of Iowa is an annual event hosted by Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa with the goal of celebrating women of courage, confidence, and character who are making the world a better place. Why does that sound familiar? Well, because it also happens to be the mission of the Girl Scouts, where they believe society is better because strong women show girls that anything is possible. This event was created by Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa in 2017 to celebrate women in our community and share their stories while raising support for the Girl Scout programs that build the next generation of inspiring women. 16 individuals are celebrated annually with the Courage, Confidence, Character, and Inspiring Advocate for Women awards. I'm your host, Sarah Noel Wilson. I am a business owner, a champion of women, and I'm also a proud Girl Scout alum, so massive love to Troop 238. And I am honored to have the chance to speak with these amazing, inspiring women and to share their stories with you. Joining me today is Dr. Amy Hughes, who is a doctor at Mission Cancer and Blood, and she is the founder and chair of Amadora Legacy Project. Welcome. Thanks for joining me, Amy.
Thank you.
Amy, before we jump into the amazing work you're doing, what else should we know about you as a person?
That's a really broad question.
I know it's intentional to see what emerges for folks.
I'm a wife and a mother of 3. I'm an athlete. I'm a nature lover. I don't know how to be bored. I don't know how to sit still. So usually it's if I do have quote unquote free time, there's usually something else that I'm working on from that perspective. So I'm very well rounded. I like to do everything from reading to crafting and everything in between.
I love it. And being outside and being physical and being active. I feel like you need to write a book to help us all understand how we can step into more of that lifestyle. So obviously you have been nominated for the Character Award through the Inspiring Women of Iowa event by the Greater Iowa Girl Scout organization. Talk to us about the work you do and there's so much that we can talk about, I know, in the short amount of time we have. And what's really driving your mission?
Yeah. So I'm obviously, by nature of my job, I'm around cancer patients, day in and day out. And I've been in the field for almost 20 years now. But even before that, I was in high school, I was a hospice volunteer. So I was already around cancer, even at a really young age. I had some family members who had cancer that I helped take care of. And so I was so familiar with sort of that process and how things unfold as the disease progresses. So it was kind of a natural fit for me from my childhood to go into the oncology world as an adult. And it's one of those things where day in and day out, when you're seeing patients and you're walking this journey with them, that is quite frankly sometimes the hardest decision making that they'll ever have to make in their life. And it is eye-opening, right? It reinforces the fact that they have the mindset that I think everybody should have, which is it's not about money. It's not about your car. It's not about how much you own. It's about your connections and your relationships and all those networks that you kind of support yourself with. And so I just really, the more that I was part of that part of life where we were approaching end of life, the more I was seeing regret from patients and from their family, regret of, I wish I would have done X with my life, or I wish I would have told somebody how I felt about them, things like that. And it kind of reminded me back to so my grandmother had Alzheimer's, and when I was a young teen, they didn't live real nearby us. And so by the time they moved back toward us, and I was, through the teen phase of, I only want to be with my friends, I really missed out the opportunity to hear her stories. And she had this incredibly rich background. Her parents immigrated. So there's just all of these pieces that I felt like, oh my gosh, I really wish I had those stories and I wish I could hear her laugh. And so I was facing the same discussions with my patients and, particularly young patients where they have kids and they're worried that they won't be remembered. They're worried that their kids won't remember their voice or remember their body mannerisms. And so that's really what triggered Amadora Legacy Project. It was sort of a culmination of my own experience and then witnessing over and over again all of these patients and their families and what they were going through. So our mission with Amadora is to capture the life stories of individuals with life-limiting illnesses. And we believe that it is the biggest gift of love that you can give to a participant and their family members, because it's the gift that keeps giving, right? You can keep it forever. Your 2 generations down the road can know who their great grandma was, right? So it's been a passion project for me. I still work full time in the oncology world, so I have a busy daily schedule anyway. But for me, it's worth it to put in the after hours or the weekend work because I see such tremendous value on the other end of it.
Yeah. Yeah. How many families have you been able to support and capture their stories now?
So we officially got our 501c3 in September of 22.
Okay.
And we have filmed 39 participants so far.
Wow.
Yeah. And they've ranged anywhere. Our youngest was 26 and our oldest was 92. And I'll tell you, he had some great stories. I mean, it was like he was born around the time of penicillin.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's really, and frankly, it's really special for me. I've been able to do some of the interviewing myself, and they happen to sometimes be my patients. And it's really special to be able to hear a totally different side of a patient that I would have never had exposure to. It's just a really unique opportunity.
Yeah.
It's been wonderful.
There's something that feels incredibly sacred about that. I think anytime that we are able to hold space and to hear people's stories and when I just had this situation actually come up with a client we're working with is, when you are in the family, sometimes you have dynamics at play, sometimes you have roles that people fall into, and that there can be a lot of value to having somebody from the outside pull those stories out that might be harder for them to share.
Absolutely.
Right, directly with the family members. That's not always true, but certainly that can be the case. Yeah.
It's absolutely true. And, we give our participants, so we typically film in their own homes. That's where most people choose to film. We have a professional videography team. We have trained legacy coaches who kind of facilitate the interview.
Yeah.
And we always give participants the opportunity, if they want to, that toward the end of the video, if they want to leave a direct message to family members individually, then they have that opportunity, which has been really beautiful to be able to see those messages come to fruition. And then they feel like, hey, I've said what I feel like I needed to say. I got to share these stories. I got to share these words of wisdom. They share messages about, when their children will eventually get married down the road and they can, say what they would have normally said if they were there. It's really incredible. It's really unique.
Yeah. That is amazing. I have so many, there's so much I want to talk about with you.
I love talking about it. So
I think it's so beautiful. And, that's something that my dad has always been really passionate about is record the stories, and it's that idea of almost like a living will, right? Like, this is what I want you to know about who I am and what my legacy is. And here's the message that I want to share with you. So
absolutely.
You have this incredible opportunity to be present and witness folks at incredibly vulnerable times. And obviously, it's clear that this has been a mission of yours from a very young age. It's just evolved. Who is somebody who inspires you? You've been nominated, and I'm always curious to know, who's somebody who inspires the person who's inspiring other people?
Yeah, for me, it's not, I could honestly not ever tell you one individual person because for me, I don't get inspired by celebrities. I don't get inspired by that. What I get inspired by are the people on the ground, right? The people who step outside of their comfort zone and embrace their talents and their gifts and are willing to be maybe a little in an uncomfortable situation to make this beautiful thing happen, right? So it's like women who are in a pretty male-dominated field, but are willing to step outside of that box and be like, no, I have a seat at the table because I have these great ideas and this program I want to create, right? So those are the people that I really feel inspired by.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I am frequently inspired by cancer patients, honestly.
Sure.
And I say that because there's one in particular that I can absolutely think of not very long ago. And what was struck me so much about it was that she had unfortunately received some pretty unfortunate news from me. And she was explaining to her daughter about the fact that we didn't have treatment options left. And what's really struck me is that she was sitting there telling her daughter, it's okay. It's okay because we have had so much time together, and she's not very old, but we've had this wonderful time together, and we're going to continue to make these wonderful memories. And what she said was that not everybody has the opportunity to die well. And I was like, that's amazing, right? Because in her mind, dying well was she had the opportunity, she knew it was happening, and she had the opportunity to stop and focus on what was the most important and purposely make time for those relationships, which some people don't have the opportunity to do. So there's a really unique perspective of, most people, when they get an advanced cancer diagnosis, of course, it's traumatic and understandably just, it's an upheaval. And here was this woman with a very unique opposite perspective of, but I know when my time will be done, and I have the opportunity to do all these things that I wouldn't necessarily be doing if I was just sort of busy living my life and not realizing that this was happening, right? It was really fascinating to me. So those people inspire me because again, it comes back to that refocusing of what's the most important thing in life.
Yeah, which is so easy. I mean, part of it is I think it's how our brain is wired to be like, don't think about your mortality. Like if you dwell on it, that can get overwhelming. But if you can use it to drive your sense of purpose and clarity around what's important to you, that can be incredibly powerful. Too.
Well, and think about it too from the perspective, I actually really believe, so I agree with you, the end of life is very hard for people to talk about and to think about. But the reality is that the biggest gift you can give your loved one and your family is the gift of preparation, right? So I don't know when something's going to happen to me. You don't know, right? And so to be already prepared with, here's where you find my financial accounts, and here's what you do with, X, Y, and Z if something happens to me, I think is phenomenal. It's a huge gift because it takes a tremendous burden off of the family for down the road, right? So I across the board, I wish that we didn't have so much stigma attached to the whole end of life process, because I think we could make it so much better. And it happens to all of us.
I was going to say, and it's inevitable. I mean, it's literally the only thing that is true that everyone will experience, and ignoring it or denying it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. I assume that comes into a lot of your work as a death doula. We were privileged to interview a number of different people in end of life on our show. And it was just fascinating, this idea of all the things you don't even realize. Like, yes, there's the coming up with the funeral accommodations, all of that. But there's do you have the password to their phone to get their photos?
Exactly.
Do you know, all of the different counts they have? Do you know what their preferences are? And and I understand the discomfort. And I love that language of, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give is that preparation, because those who are left behind are going to be in a tough spot for so many, right? And so how do you take one thing off their plate?
Yes. And that's obviously, we'll never take away grief, right? That's a natural part of the human emotion. Right. But if we can lighten that, or if we can help them process through that with taking away some burdens that don't need to be there, I think that's huge, right? Yeah. So I think it's just, whether it's recording a video for your legacy so they remember visual and audio, whether it's writing letters for some people, whether it's filling out, all the documents about where to find things. I think all of those pieces really come together just to sort of make it as easy as possible when you're facing things like the end of life.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's to your point, we might not be able to make it better, but maybe we can make it not worse. Sometimes that's how I view situations. That's kind of a strange way to say it, but it's like, well, how do we make it not worse? Like, let's not add more to the plate or to the burden. So go ahead. Yeah.
Well,
No?
I was just going to say, and I should point out too that so with Amadora, we started obviously in the cancer world because that's sort of my nature. But we thankfully, because we're a public nonprofit, we were able to expand to include ALS, Huntington's, Parkinson's, these other life limiting diseases.
Yeah.
That has really been wonderful to be able to open the door to as many people as possible. And we hope to continue to expand on that too. But so it's not just a matter of, the cancer world. We want to include all of these other things too.
Yeah. What's the significance of the name?
Yeah.
Amadora?
So the name Amadora in Italian means gift of love. And because of my Italian heritage and my grandmother with the Alzheimer's, we were really beautifully able to just tie it in together with that.
I love that. I love that. Amy, for people who are listening to this or who, for those who will be exposed to your story through the incredible event and being recognized, what is one message you would love to leave people with? And I know that's a big thing, but like in this moment, this is it. It's the one. No. But if there was if it's like, this is just one thing I would like you to think about today in a way that maybe you haven't, what would that be?
Yeah. I think it still comes back for me. It really still comes back to don't worry about how much money you're making or how many cars you have, right? It's really, I want people to be able to truly focus on human connection. I think that's how our world gets nicer and better.
Yeah.
Is that we communicate with each other and we take care of each other and we use service for each other. So I think that's my biggest thing is I just really want people to recognize that life is short. Some is shorter than others that we don't know when will happen.
Yeah.
And so focusing on those human connections, I think is huge. I think that's the most important thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
So for people who are listening who might want to reach out or learn more about the efforts you're doing or maybe think about contributing, what's the best way for them to learn more about the organization?
Yeah. So you can certainly go to the website, AmadoraLegacyProject.org. The other thing is through Facebook or through Instagram or even LinkedIn, we do have pages on each of those platforms as well, which will give direct access to us. We have both our phone number, email, all of that listed on the website. I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody would have. I love to talk about it because I just think it's so important. So I'm free and available whenever.
I love it. Thank you so much for the work you do. And I mean, this is what I so appreciate is, we all make impact and the work you're doing allows others to continue to increase their impact as well, right? It's a ripple of impact that your organization is doing. So congratulations on your nomination for the Character Award. And thank you for taking time to talk to me today.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
The 2025 Inspiring Women of Iowa event will be held on May 9th at the Meadows Events and Conference Center. To purchase tickets and get more information about supporting this event, please visit inspiringwomenofiowa.com. And all proceeds from this fundraising event stay 100% local to benefit Girl Scouts of Greater Iowa and their mission to build up girls of courage, confidence, and character who will make this world a better place. Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support.